If you're a high performing Chinese professional, at some point in your career, you're going to feel frustrated with your lack of growth. You realize that the same strengths that help you to grow in your career, they don't just stop working, suddenly they start working against you. And that's not because you're not hardworking enough or not smart enough. It's because your KPI for your career has changed and nobody told you. The most common phases where I see KPI changes are the junior IC level, the senior IC level, people manager level, and the director and beyond level. So let's talk about the first one, junior IC. At this stage, your KPI is reliability. In your early 20s, as a junior individual contributor, your only job is to be trusted. Like, if your boss feels safer giving you work than giving your coworkers work, you grow. So, an example in my career when I was just starting out, I worked at a Series B startup where my main job was to be the Excel monkey, just querying some data, building reports, delivering basic insights. And I did my job well. I delivered on time. And eventually, my manager just came to rely on me to support major deals that we were closing with clients. And eventually, he trusted me enough to promote me. And I remember when he did, he told me, John, you're my go to closer behind the scenes. You deserve this. So if you're a junior IC, then here are three things that you can do to demonstrate your reliability. The first is to never miss deadlines. In fact, if it is due Friday, aim to send it by Thursday. Second is update before they ask. If your manager wants the draft tomorrow, at the end of today, message them with a quick update like, hey, the draft is 80% done. We're still on track for tomorrow. And third, be on call. I don't mean like over weekends or 10 p.m. on weekdays, but if your manager sends you a Slack or Teams message at noon with a time sensitive request, try to get back to them within 1 hour. When you're entry level, the best ability really is availability. All right, let's talk about the next phase in your career, which is the senior IC. Here, the KPI shifts from reliability to ownership. As a senior IC, now you're responsible for absorbing complexity, not just executing tasks. Don't get me wrong, at this stage, you're probably going to be very good, but this is also where many Chinese professionals start to feel stuck, like they cannot break past the senior IC level. And you will notice your boss maybe starts saying things like, hey, you're really, really good at this one specific thing. And then one day you realize that means you're stuck in this role because of how much reliability you've demonstrated. A common mistake that I see over and over again with Chinese professionals is they choose to double down on the same KPIs. So they say like, I'm just going to build better skills, be even more reliable, and maybe then I'll be promoted. But at this level, everyone's reliable. Managers are looking for leverage. Where should your time be spent to create the most impact? So, if you are a senior IC, here are three things that you can do to demonstrate ownership. First, clarify your goals up front. Before you begin a project, ask yourself, what does success look like in one sentence? And if you don't know the goal, then you're at risk of being busy without being productive. Second, pursue high leverage work. Get in the habit of reviewing your task list and asking yourself, if I only had 5 hours this week, what would I do? That is going to be your highest leverage work. And your goal is to deprioritize the rest because managers are going to promote people who move big rocks, not the ones that carry small ones perfectly. And finally, the third thing is to say no strategically. If you do number one and number two correctly, clarify goals and pursue high leverage work, then number three, saying no, is going to be a necessity. Ownership means protecting your time, your mind space, and your focus so you can pursue the highest leverage work to support the right goals. Learn to say no without damaging the relationship. That is going to be an important skill. Now, the next level is people manager. And the KPI here is going to be team performance. So as a people manager, your success is no longer about what you deliver. It's about what your team delivers without you. Many senior ICs struggle to adapt to this shift because old habits die hard, right? Especially when those very same habits used to reward you. I remember when I became a manager, I led a team of over 10 people. And we did critical work. There were millions of dollars on the line for each project. And most of my team was junior. So I stayed in IC mode. And that was okay. It worked until it didn't work. I remember at one point, I spent a whole day on vacation. Like my wife and I had planned this vacation. We were so excited. And I spent the first day of that vacation just hunched over my laptop in the hotel the whole day. My wife was pissed, but beyond that, it was a reminder to me that I wasn't being responsible here. I was actually the bottleneck of my own team. In fact, at that time, one of the strongest team members had actually been asking me for more authority the whole time. And this whole time, I kept hesitating because of my own limiting belief that I couldn't rely on my team to get big stuff done. But when I finally gave her space to run, she crushed it. I joined meetings late and she was already leading that meeting with the team. And that's when I learned leadership is not about being the best executor. It's about building a team that doesn't need you in the room. So if you're a people manager, here are 3 things that you can do to grow your team performance. First, solve repeat pain at the system level. If your team is staying late every month end, don't go into hero mode and jump in and try to save the day. That's the old version of you, right? Instead, ask yourself, why does this problem keep happening? Then, based on what you learn, build an SOP, redesign the workflow, provide training to your teammates, do something to influence the system. Second, delegate outcomes and not tasks. So instead of telling your direct, hey, pull the data from this canonical data table and prepare slides 1 to 5 with these 3 details, you got to get comfortable saying things like, I trust you to own X. Success looks like Y. It is due by Z. Let's plan it out together. I will let you run with all the rest. I will trust you to figure out how we actually get it done. If your team still needs your detailed instructions for everything, if they need you to hold their hand, you're still operating at an IC level. You're just way more stressed. And third, you got to make yourself intentionally unnecessary sometimes. So what I mean by this is you got to pick one recurring responsibility and train someone on it, document it, let someone else run it. If you can't take a week off without chaos, like I couldn't at that time, then you really haven't shifted towards improving true team performance. The next level is director. At this point, your KPI shifts from team performance to organizational performance. And you shift from developing individuals to developing entire teams and organizations. The director level was the last one that I held before leaving to start Mr. Jonathan Office on my own. So I'm going to leave it there. I really hoped that this helped. And I want you to know that if you're feeling stuck, it doesn't mean that you failed. It means that your KPI has changed. And for you, the only thing left to do now is to decide whether you want to keep proving who you were or start becoming who you need to be. All right, it is time for Melon Break. And this Melon Break, I'm so happy to talk about it. It is your time to ride. For this special edition, we are not talking about the hottest gossip that your non-Chinese coworkers are talking about at the office. We are inviting our non-Chinese coworkers into our world. Chinese New Year is here at the time of recording. 所以对我的大家听这个 podcast 祝你们一个新年快乐 and of course apologies for my terrible Chinese. Chinese New Year is here. Everyone needs to know about it. But what I've observed in the workplace is so many Chinese professionals do something interesting at work. They either say nothing or they say something small like, yeah, it's our new year, and they change the topic. And I get why there's sometimes a desire to minimize this. It's the same concerns that have come into my head, even as someone who was born and raised in Canada. I used to wonder, will my coworkers find it too niche, not interesting, too Chinese? But Chinese New Year should not be minimalized. It's not small. It is the biggest holiday celebrated by the most ancient continuous civilization on the planet. And your coworkers deserve to understand it. And by sharing a piece of your culture, you actually have an opportunity to connect on a more deep and personal level with them as well. So if you're looking for a simple framework to help you to share with your coworkers, you can follow the what, so what, and now what structure. This is a super simple structure to remember, and it helps your audience not only understand the topic, but also connect it to what it means to you and to them. In other words, it actually sticks and will be remembered. So here's an example of how you could use it to talk about Chinese New Year. The what, you could say Chinese New Year is the biggest holiday for Chinese people. It is based on our Chinese calendar, and almost everyone travels home to see family. Now we're at the so what. And you could say, it's really about family. Even people who work far away will try to go home. We have a big dinner on New Year's Eve, give red envelopes for good luck, and celebrate new beginnings. I always look forward to sharing laughs around the table with my family and fighting off questions from my grandparents about when I'll get married. Now we're at the now what. And so here you might say something like, so what this means is during this period, many Chinese employees prioritize family time. It's a meaningful cultural moment for us. By sharing your culture in a structured and easy to understand way, you don't just connect more with your coworkers. Now they understand the context. And hey, maybe they cut you some slack so you can go home at 4 p.m. so you can finally eat 年夜饭 at the proper time. On this topic, my dear listener, I want to wish you a happy year of the horse. And in the spirit of the horse, I believe that this is a year for movement for all of us. No more standing still, shrinking, waiting for stuff to happen, because movement is life. I hope this year you run towards your goals, towards bigger challenges, towards growth. I want to thank you for being a part of this community. Your trust and support allows me to keep building this space for you. So run boldly. I'll be here, right here with you. Day Up is written, produced, and hosted with love by me, Jonathan Lee. If you want to support high-quality, free podcasting for Chinese professionals, please like and review this podcast. It would mean so much to hear from you. That's all for today. 下次再见，职场小伙伴们。